What if some of the biggest rappers in the world didn't lose millions to bad contracts, but to a system nobody is allowed to question? For over 40 years, J. Prince built one of hip-hop's most powerful empires. But behind the respect is a story artists are afraid to tell. And once you hear it, you'll never look at checking in the same way again. The foundation of power. Before J. Prince became a mogul, he was just James Prince from Houston's 5th Ward, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Texas. Survival wasn't optional, it was mandatory. By the late 1980s, he founded Rap-A-Lot Records and built it into one of the most successful independent labels in history. Ghetto Boys, Scarface, UGK Connections. Houston had a voice, and J. Prince controlled the microphone. But with success came something else, influence. And influence is more valuable than money, because once people depend on you, you don't have to ask for anything, they give it. And that's where things quietly changed. The creation of checking in. Somewhere along the way, Houston developed a rule. If you were a major artist coming to the city, you checked in, you called, you linked up, you showed respect. On paper, it sounded harmless. Networking, relationships, culture. But in practice, it meant something else. Because when someone controls the streets, the venues, the promoters, and the security, checking in stops being optional. It becomes insurance, and insurance always has a price, but that price wasn't always paid in cash, at least not directly. When artists linked with the Prince family, a pattern often followed. They'd use certain venues, certain security, certain promoters, certain connections. Everything stayed in the family. That meant more business for their circle, more visibility for their brand, more leverage in negotiations, more influence over careers. And over time, that influence turned into millions. Not from one deal, not from one artist, but from decades of quiet positioning the artists rarely realized they were paying until it was too late. The business leverage strategy. J. Prince's reputation wasn't built only on music. It was built on stories. Stories about deals getting fixed overnight, contracts changing suddenly, executives backing down, situations resolving themselves, sometimes through negotiations, sometimes through pressure, sometimes through suggestions that didn't sound optional. In his own book and interviews, Prince has described moments where business disputes were handled directly. No lawyers, no courts, no paperwork, just conversations that made people change their minds. And when people know you can make problems disappear, they don't argue with you, they comply. And that's how leverage becomes currency. The Murder Inc. and publishing move. One of the clearest examples of how this system worked appeared through music publishing. A producer connected to Rap-A-Lot Records ended up working on multiple major hits for Murder Inc. These weren't small records, they were platinum songs, chart toppers that dominated radio and generated millions in revenue. At the time, most people only saw the success. Few understood what was happening behind the scenes. Only later did it become clear that J. Prince owned a portion of that producer's publishing. That meant he was entitled to a percentage of every song, every stream, and every royalty check connected to those hits. But he didn't rush to collect. He stayed quiet. He waited until the records were locked in, the contracts were finalized, and the money was already flowing. By then, there was no easy way out. When he finally stepped in, everything was perfectly legal, carefully structured, and impossible to undo. It was smart, calculated, and extremely profitable. And it was only one move in a much larger, long-term strategy. The Drake connection. Then came Drake. In 2007, Jazz Prince discovered him online. Unknown, unproven, and hungry. Jazz introduced Drake to Lil Wayne, and that single connection changed music forever. Drake signed with Young Money, and the rest is history. But behind the scenes, Aspire Music, linked to Jazz Prince, held a percentage of Drake's early profits. When payments stalled, J. Prince stepped in. Audits followed, lawsuits followed, pressure followed. The case eventually settled for millions. And while Drake went on to earn hundreds of millions, the Prince family got paid early, quietly, before most people even knew the story. Was it smart business? Absolutely. Was it ruthless? Also yes. And that combination defined everything that followed. One of the most powerful tools in the system was protection. When artists checked in, they believed they were safe. They had connections, backing, and coverage. But over time, multiple high-profile incidents raised serious questions. NBA, Youngboy's Houston break-in, Duke the Jeweler's killing, Takeoff's death. Each situation had different circumstances, details, and explanations, yet one thing connected them all. They happened while people were linked to the Prince network. And every time, the same question returned. If this was protection, why didn't it protect? And nobody ever gave a clear answer. The Takeoff moment. In 2022, Takeoff was killed in Houston under circumstances that shocked the entire hip-hop world. He was with people connected to the Prince family. He He had checked in. He was supposed to be protected. Instead, he lost his life during a late-night dice game that spiraled out of control. What followed was chaotic and uncomfortable. There were emotional interviews, public arguments, private tensions, and unanswered questions that never seemed to find closure. Then J. Prince addressed Offset publicly in a moment that felt less like comfort and more like a warning. That single statement shifted public perception and made many people uneasy because in that moment, something became clear. Even in tragedy, control mattered more than accountability, and artists were watching closely. They understood the message without it ever being spoken. Music wasn't the only industry where this influence reached. J. Prince once managed Floyd Mayweather during key moments of his rise, earning massive payouts from historic fights. When that relationship ended, disputes followed. Promoter Bob Arum later described incidents involving intimidation and rapid payments. Nothing was ever proven in court. No charges were filed, but the stories added to the legend. Another reminder, don't owe J. Prince money. Don't cross him, don't argue, just pay. Why artists stay quiet. Here's the real reason this system lasted for so long. Fear. Not just fear of violence, but fear of being erased from the industry. Fear of being blackballed, losing connections, losing shows, and losing opportunities overnight. In hip-hop, access is everything. Without it, careers stall, momentum dies, and money disappears. And for decades, J. Prince controlled that access. To Houston, to major promoters, to key venues, to influential artists, and to powerful executives. Speaking out didn't just risk backlash, it meant doors quietly closing. No announcements, no explanations, just silence. And once those doors shut, they rarely opened again. So most artists chose to stay quiet, protect their careers, and play along. That silence kept the machine running, year after year, without resistance. The money machine. Over more than 40 years, the Prince empire quietly expanded into almost every corner of entertainment and business. From music catalogs and boxing management, to real estate, branding, merchandise, events, and consulting, every stream became its own source of profit. Individually, each business was successful. Together, they created generational wealth. And at the center of it all was reputation. A reputation that didn't need threats or warnings. It simply sent a message. We can help you, and we can hurt you, without ever saying it out loud. That balance between opportunity and pressure was both the genius of the system and its greatest danger. But money was never the biggest cost. The real price was freedom. Young artists felt trapped inside relationships they couldn't escape. Touring artists felt constant pressure to stay in line. Executives felt cornered into cooperation. Nobody wanted conflict, so they paid in silence, loyalty, missed opportunities, and millions of dollars. Over time, the culture normalized it. Just check in, just show love, just play the game. Until eventually, nobody even remembered why the game existed in the first place, why nothing changes. People always ask the same questions. Why hasn't J. Prince been charged? Why hasn't this system been exposed? Why hasn't it collapsed by now? The answer is simple. Systems like this don't fall easily. Witnesses stay quiet, victims never testify. Deals are handled behind closed doors, and problems are buried before they ever reach the public. Over time, power like this stops looking dangerous. It starts looking normal. It becomes invisible, untouchable, and that's exactly how it survives for decades. J. Prince didn't become powerful by accident. He built leverage in every direction. He protected territory, mastered pressure, and controlled access to opportunities artists depended on. Then he monetized all of it. Some call it smart business, some call it survival, others call it extortion. The truth likely lives somewhere in between. But one thing is undeniable. For decades, artists paid millions, not just in money, but in silence, control, and fear. And until that changes, the system keeps running, unchallenged, unbroken, and still collecting.